Today we're going to be talking about the American oyster, also known as the eastern oyster. Its classification in its genus and species is the uh, Crassostrea and Crassostrea virginica. I might have butchered that pronunciation, but it's all good. It mainly lives in the Pacific Maritime ecozone in very tropical areas. It's in the reproductive areas there and also sustaining life there. Um, these are the classifications more strategically broken down, the taxonomical order. As I mentioned before, it's also the eastern oyster. And below we have a picture of what is known as an oyster bed. That might be very familiar to us in the low country here. It's just some facts and some interesting stuff about this to get our feet wet. Oysters provide environmental benefits and water filtration, removing excess nutrients and improving overall quality. They have some filtrage in there to help assist in that. They grow in very tidal areas, as I mentioned before. In their growth, they require no feeding. They filter off of phytoplankton directly from their water column. In the early stages of life, they first start off as males and then later develop into the later develop a female reproductive system, and they have fast growth and reproductive rates as well. They are eukaryotic in nature. As I said, they belong to the Animalia class, and they belong to the benthos category too. They have a very short mobile phase in early life, but other than that, they sit pretty static in the rest of life, other than obviously being picked up and moved around and stuff like that. They reproduce through the broadcast spawning, which is the sex hormones being released into the ocean water just to make contact there. And then they are benthos in nature, but this is interesting. They live in pelagic distribution, which means in the more shallow water areas. Well, not necessarily shallow water areas, but in that top 10% of the ocean, maybe. Some more ecological facts to wrap up. It eats plankton, just feasts off that just for its natural feeding, like I said before. It doesn't require much, but if it does, it mainly feeds off of plankton. What eats it? The low country eats it. That's what eats it. We are very familiar with that in the low country, but all matter serious. They are mainly hunted by crabs, seabirds, starfish, and as I said earlier, humans. Its position in the marine food web, they're in the bivalve groups. Like I said, they're in very much tidal positioning distribution. They're very, very numerous, about 300 million due to the latest research. And like I said, they're in tropical distribution, mainly in the Pacific. They are suffering mainly of a threat. There's a high demand of them in the fisheries. A lot of the human nature on the coastline just can't get enough of their oysters. And there we go.